And we are live. Today we do some politics because politics kind of work when people are interesting and talking about Trump because everyone hates Trump. It's funny. We will be addressing Trump, or I should say, something he said and did, and we will react to someone reacting to everything. How are you, Mandalore?
Tired because this is not day. This is middle of the night.
Hell yeah, the way to do it. What about you, D Lord?
I'm good. I am surviving and good. Yes.
We just changed the time and it's shit. Anyhow, we shall react to
Donald Trump gave a pretty
Amala.
big speech last night. It was his joint address for 20.
That went
Technically,
right.
this was Thursday. She didn't have the intro, so you're good.
Okay, well, let's get into it. This will be funny. I don't think we will cover the entire thing tonight, but it's like probably a three-parter or so. We will extend the sauce, extend the. I don't know the exact word, but let's just do it.
Well, Donald Trump gave a pretty big speech last night. It was his joint address for 2025 before Congress, and boy, was it dramatic. There was protesting and hoop hollering and screaming. Somebody got kicked out. Democrats held signs. Trump spoke about the dramatic wins of this administration. He told heartwarming or even heartbreaking stories of people in the audience, while the Democrats just sat there not clapping for a single thing. Even the most common sense initiatives got absolutely nothing from them but protest. And today we're going to go through some of the highlights and lowlights of last evening's address, and we'll fill you in case you didn't.
I gotta say, like, we didn't really get into it yet, but she mentioned people didn't clap and all. I just feel like they're a bad loser. They're like, we lost, so we cannot support anything that administration does.
Well, we'll get into this because I've seen the whole thing like a couple times reviewed, but the only thing I'll say is they won't stand up or applaud for a kid with cancer, but they'll kneel for a murderer or drug addict.
So the big thing, right, that happened during this, the person she talked about getting kicked out in meetings, we have it's called like Robert's Rules. That's like Robert's Rules for something. Yes, pardon the phrase. I have better. It's basically where you have like a sergeant at arms. You have a meeting. You recognize the speaker. He got removed because every meeting we have in government, in most meetings with unions even, have follow Robert's rules. It's a procedure. And I've seen people who are like, well, he should be recognized as a hero. No, he knew he was being a shithead.
Well,
and chose to do it.
And he did it about a stupid thing at a stupid time. There were certain times that would have made more sense for him.
Oh.
But we'll get to that when we get to that.
She talk about it.
Let's play this. I think them being a bad loser, I'm excited to cover that. That will be funny.
Get to watch it. Now, first things first, within like 5 minutes of Donald Trump giving this speech, Rep. Al Green, a Democrat from Texas, actually had to be kicked out because he did not bring decorum with him.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning.
That is called Robert's Rules.
That guy there with the hammer, is he like
that's the Speaker of the House.
That's like a left-leaning guy, right?
No, right. No, that's the Speaker of the House. Whoever is the most senior person in the chamber is the Speaker of the House. Well, there's the Speaker, and then there's whoever's the head or the most senior at the ceremony is. So what this guy broke was called part of Robert's Rules, or it's a thing, and we use probably in British Parliament as well. You have the ability to protest. He was told if you break the decorum or the rules of conduct, they give you a chance to protest or speak. But if you break it, you get escorted out by a sergeant at arms or what is like the sergeant at arms. Even unions practice this. But yeah.
It's interesting he didn't get thrown out like that. And just look at her face. She's like, "We are taking a loss, folks. We are taking the L."
So fun fact, he started screaming at the top of his lungs, standing and pointing with the cane about 23 minutes into the speech. You heard it, you could hear it about 24. And after a while, you see, because most of the Congress people around him, you see how they're sitting during a joint session of Congress. You like Marjorie Taylor Greene called Biden a liar. There was a Republican who called Obama a liar too. But after she was told to be quiet, she wasn't removed from the chamber because she followed the rule. It was a vocal protest, but you didn't do what this man did. And he partly did it for show and just as a point.
Oh, their whole big thing is being kicked out now and then going to news of talking about it.
But there was also another group that walked out of the chamber.
Oh,
it was dressed in pink.
Yeah, I was going to say
You don't
Ghetto
talk about
Squad.
this. But so that gives you a little idea. What is called is like rules of ceremony or rules of conduct, but it's under like Robert's rules, if you ever.
But most commonly, yeah. Do you know, Malty, do you know who Al Green is at all? Other than Caveman Jones?
I have no idea what
he's a
who you guys
Texas.
are
He
mentioning.
represents. He's a Texas congressman. It's Pearland and
With
down.
Major TDS. And was it the day after he was elected, or within a couple days, that he already put it in articles of impeachment for dastardly deeds?
And basically, right after the chamber, his whole reason he was protesting is he's trying to yell, Trump has no mandate to cut Medicaid.
And he's not.
And he's not doing it. And he also said, I will be filing articles of impeachment. There's a whole like minor controversy. Like when he was censored, like I haven't done it on my channel and I'm in meaning to go over this. But like that parts of this is he got censured, which is like just a public warning or shaming by Congress because he did this. Then other Democrats were being babies about it. But
they started singing.
Yes.
And I gotta say, if that was anyone else, that wasn't Trump or anything, things would be different. It's a jungle, it's a mess because it's Trump and is enemy public number one.
Well, that's an oversimplification, but yes.
And it's also because the Democrats are currently leaderless. They're like a beehive with no queen, so to speak. But a very good analogy. I heard this used by somebody, and it makes so you have like a bunch of bees, but with no queen at the moment. They don't have a central. Most of their central leadership is fractured. The far left progressives are fighting with the moderates. A lot of the people you'll see, she'll talk about it a little later about holding up the signs, Musk bad, etc., Musk steals. They're so fractious and divided. They're fighting amongst themselves. So like the ones with major TDS, like there's a guy, like if you look at the man, there's a white man in front of them right next to like the Asian lady. That's Schiff.
Shifty Shift.
Adam Schiff, who has been known to leak documents on every committee he's ever been a part of. So within the last few years, that's at least what it deals with Trump. So you're dealing with people, but even he is the most uncivil person, but all these people are staying quiet. The big thing about this is he planned this and then went outside and said, I'm going to fight afterwards. He goes, why'd you do it? Whatever else. He gave bullshit reason, knowing he's going to be censured and he'll take the punishment. But he also says he's working on articles of impeachment again. It's like, good. Your TDS is at an all-time. But it's all Democrats.
Well, and more simply, there were always like in the last election and when Trump was still in his previous term, there were many little leaders who managed certain things. Schiff was all the background stuff with all the trying to get him impeached and whatnot. But they've been getting called out and caught in a lot of lies lately. And the reason why no one's defending anyone anymore to such an extent is because everyone's afraid. Schiff is in a lot of trouble. He had to get pardoned, which might not even be legal at this point anymore.
That's funny.
Schiff,
Wow.
but as I said, Schiff was part of a lot of committees that were having a lot of leaks. So
Yes.
do the math. Every committee that he was a part of, press junkers kept getting leaks.
Well, and don't forget the I'm Spartacus moment from the end of Trump's first term.
I remember that. I
But
do
we
remember.
That
go on.
sounds funny. I guess we can play. I'm curious to see again what happens next because
But
I
in
didn't
short,
see the entire thing.
His whole thing about Medicaid, Trump has come out saying there he's not doing that to Medicaid, and there was things that he could have done this against it proper that would have made more sense and actually looked better for their side. But no, he picked this one of the stupidest points to do this against, which hurt him even more.
Yeah.
Also, there's rape allegations coming out against him, so he's kind of done.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Let's play.
There he is.
Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant at Arms to restore order to the joint session.
Now, let me say one thing. Pause a second. There is a thing in the United States where it is one side of the room cheering for restoring order. Now, and that's largely the way these ceremonies are done. One side of the room is one party, the other side is the other. So that's why you will hear this.
Interesting.
Because the people who are largely cheering for order, yes, are the Republicans. Now, you see, the Democrats really aren't doing it. But there is one Democrat who, if you do see it, is a man has like a white beard thing. He is one of the Democrats or people who spoke out at the censure to have him censured. So that gives you an idea why I said with the Roberts rules, right? All unions do it. It goes, you're given a warning. They give the sergeant at arms, right? Even at union meetings to come sit down. You'll see them start to go over there. He refuses. Another Democrat gets up and asks him to move, and I guess it's a protest. In the actual full, you'll see it. But even she's horrified. Most of the average people do not understand. But during a joint session of Congress, State of the Union, you're not supposed to vocally protest because they recognize a speaker. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It's like saying I don't believe in the system.
But yes, that's why you... But he had been standing for like 5 minutes.
So here's where you can see the really big divide in the room. Of course, right here, you got your Democrats, and over here, you got the Republicans. We got people standing and clapping, and of course, we have those who aren't. And this is how this crowd remains for the entirety of this speech. And as I said, Al Green ends up getting kicked out of the room because he can't keep it close. He had to keep screaming and shouting at him, which we've just really lost all sense of decorum and class when it comes to politics. And I know many will attribute that to President Donald Trump himself. And, there could be some decorum and classes on his end as well, but it's just so outlandish for me to watch the way some of these people who've been chosen to represent us are doing that representing. And
I will also add that I really feel like if that was anyone else and not Trump, that wouldn't be like that. And also, I really feel like leftists, Democrats, whatever, the opposite to Trump, they are really angry if they don't get what they want, and
That's both sides in politics.
It's both sides multi, but it's largely I would classify a large majority of senior Democrats now as leftivists, which is combining the term left and activist. So leftivist. They are largely of a progressive persuasion, which goes further than the traditional principles. Republicans have them too, but the leftivists are fine doing the disruption. She forgets the Speaker of the House literally gave him the option to sit down and stay in the chamber, but he refused. So he will be ejected from the chamber because of Robert's rules and disrupting the ceremony. But she doesn't know the procedure, and a lot of people don't know that procedure. At least you guys know that. You guys probably have a similar thing in your parliament. You can't have fist fights. You probably can't have disruptions if you guys are similar to the British system.
Ours is very silly watching it, where people, it's stupid, and
there's a lot of corruption here, and there's.
Do you have like a similar thing in Canada where it's like turn speaking and
yes,
orders? Yeah, that's what happened to him, and she's horrified because at the censure there was like a bunch that voted, and then they crowded. Like, you see that
the floor.
The floor is called the well, right? You see that well that's around the speaker's desk, right? And they go, "Oh, come to order." So, Al Green, will you come down? And he does a little thing, and the guy has to do the gavel to get the room in order so he can take his censure. It's a sore losership. But he admits to doing this, then he tried to walk it back, change why he did it, but it's not looking good. She's not going to understand why that is, but it wasn't. It's a moment that they tried to turn into something bigger. Like he tried to martyrdom himself. Like we had the period where the Squad would do this in the Senate, as they know, and it was AOC, Elon Omar. Yeah, you get the idea.
I do.
Welcome to the American system.
We need to get back to tact and decorum expeditiously. Now, as I said, the Democrats wanted to protest a lot of what Trump had to say last night, and they had a very interesting way of choosing to do that. Here are their little their signs that they were going to hold all night.
That is
True
allowed.
And false signs, or actually, I think
allowed.
these signs just exclusively say false in whatever message they want on the other end of them.
Okay,
so they would hold them up whenever they felt like Donald Trump was.
This is allowed when you do this. Do you see how they're doing it? They have the little placards, even though it looks weird. You can do this. This is not being disruptive as he disrupted. Like during a thing, and it's not showing a sign. This is a non-vocal protest. This is allowed.
That's interesting.
This is still a formal protest, but this is very different than what he did. They can still say they hate Doge and Musk, but they can do the placard signs.
So that's funny how they felt the need to be vocal about it, and yet this is allowed. People.
It's weird.
Saying something that isn't true. Here's one that says Musk steals, another one that says save Medicaid, and this is what they did all night long throughout this address. Even in moments where you would think Democrats should be able to agree with what he just said, they couldn't bring themselves to do it. And if that doesn't point out, where we're at right now, I don't know what does. We're going to go through another clip here. This next clip is about Jocelyn Nungary, who's the 12-year-old whose life was taken by illegal migrants, and her life was brutally taken by illegal migrants. And since then, Jocelyn Nungary has been a staple in this growing movement, and Jocelyn's mom has been really outspoken in her respect and reverence for this current administration for trying to do something about this issue and trying to stop the infiltration of gangs into the United States through our southern border. Now, here's the clip of him addressing Jocelyn Nungary in this issue of immigration.
I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter. And earlier tonight, I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where...
I gotta say something. There's a good thing about Trump that is not told enough. He does exactly what people wanted him to do when they elected him. People don't say that enough. They only say the bad side. But for once, we got a politician that actually places his mouth where the wallet is. I can't remember the exact expression.
He puts his policies where his mouth is.
Well, no, and in this term, it's not even that he's doing what he said he would. It's how fast he's done it. He's done more in his second term already.
30 days. Like, so
he's done more for the
let me
country than Biden did in his whole term. And he's just been working practically almost every day, and everything he said, he's done something I don't think I've ever heard of any other president doing. On his inauguration, during his inauguration, he started signing orders.
So this woman's daughter, even though she wasn't the first case that he mentioned during the speech, she touches on the Lincoln Riley murder. The Lincoln Riley, sorry. But this was one of the second ones done by an illegal migrant down in Houston. And this is the thing. She cuts off the part where she doesn't want to say it was an illegal migrant let in by Biden's policies. But that was the part cut out because it was a migrant who got in illegally under one of Biden's programs to get in, who did this, and Houston tried to protect him, and he wound up having him charged and deported. And this is honoring her daughter, where she gets the park across. This is the problem with a lot of murders committed by illegal migrants in the country within the last 4 years. They sweep them underneath the rug, or they don't say that's what they are. Because Trump has been true to his word. With ICE, we didn't need any form of extra laws. All you had to do was track them down. So that gives you a little... You see how she leaves off? It was a criminal migrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I will repeat myself, and I will say something I didn't say yet at the same time. I feel like Trump is indeed dangerous. He is crazy, and he is entertaining at the same time. And as much as he brings a lot of good things, he also brings a lot of bad things. But I gotta say, he is a man of his words, and we should be happy to have finally elected someone that just does what he said he would do. He represents change, and people wanted change. That's why he got elected. So that was what I wanted to share about Trump. And I don't agree with everything he did or said thus far, but I will say, good job. We must admit that he is change. Will change stick? I don't know, but at least he tried.
Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge
He's
in loving memory
entertaining.
of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn.
There's an internal
So,
joke built
Mr.
in
Vice
there.
President, if you
Play it
would,
emotional.
may I have the order?
It did the
No.
tears.
Yeah, well, the Gulf of America thing's more cringe. I'm sorry, but well, I live in Texas. God forbid, that's still cringe us.
Oh, it's pointless for him to move, but it's still funny.
I mean, you can rename a wildlife sanctuary, but Gulf of Mexico?
One of the guys clapping. I'm just dying inside. It's funny.
So there you have it. And you'll know it's pretty customary during these types of addresses for people to stand and clap for any given moment that they feel they want to exercise their support and show their support. And during this moment, you see again that clear divide in the room where Republicans are all standing up and clapping for this wildlife refuge being named after Jocelyn. And then you have Democrats just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Now, if he said, I'm putting forward this anti-illegal immigration bill in the name of Jocelyn Nungaray, maybe you're going to think, oh, as a Democrat, I'm going to sit there and I'm not going to clap for that because I don't agree with that piece of legislation. But he literally named a wildlife refuge after a 12-year-old girl who had her life taken by gang members, and you couldn't find it within yourself to clap for that because you don't like the fact that the message is coming from, you know, your orange man bad character and you have Trump derangement syndrome. Please make that make sense. And I'm seeing a lot of Democrats on the other end of this, lifelong Democrats who have supported this party, saying this sort of carrying on during last night's speech was completely unacceptable. And their inability to find common ground in things that they can agree with common sense, and to just simply give a clap, not for Donald Trump, but for this grieving mother who lost her 12-year-old daughter. Your inability to do that is just striking. And it just shows where their allegiance lies. It just shows where their logic or lack thereof is at the moment.
And I will also add this.
Accountability is the word you're looking for.
I will also add this. They don't have empathy. They don't know the meaning of empathy. They only care about their own point of view, and they cannot try to place themselves in other people's shoes. They pretend they do. They pretend they are tolerant, but
No,
they're the
it's not
first
even
one.
that. It's not even empathy. They only care about empathy or their stories that help them. She even tried to make an excuse saying, well, if it was something against illegal aliens to use, it would be bad, or she would understand that. No, because they like illegal aliens because that's their voting base.
Well, that's part of it in the U.S., but the other part of it is that's why when I said with the story she left out, it was committed, like especially when she gets to Lincoln Riley. It took an act of God in a line vote to get that bill passed on Lincoln Riley. And no one would do it under. And this has been a sore spot for Democrats going all through the election. They can't. There was actually a C-SPAN meeting I need to watch with 5 mayors from sanctuary cities.
Oh, yeah, the one
that were going to testify before Congress because they were called before Congress because they have policies that are trying to block ICE from deporting. But welcome to the hellhole that is America when it comes to getting our immigration under control.
That's interesting. It's entertaining.
Moment. Now, here's another moment that the Democrats could definitely not applaud. And that was the story of Peyton McNabb being brought up. And I'll let Donald Trump talk about that.
Years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team or they will lose all federal funding.
And the fun part about this is the
And again, for Peyton McNabb,
this is the banning of, she can't say the words of banning. See, you never see women join men's teams or girls that believe they're guys join men's teams. I mean, it's like the South Park meme of Randy Savage believing he's a woman to join a female weightlifting competition. But she got spiked. So the person spiked the ball, hit her that hard that caused the brain damage. Now, it's a bad case, yes. It's not the swimmer case where the man transitioned to a woman or said that, then broke the swimming records, right?
It's also not the boxing with Phelan Fox and cracking a woman's skull open. It's pretty much you don't want men in women's sports because
even if they are biologically, they still have more strength because hers was the case. It's a more minor case and it's not the best case because the ball was served and then the ball got spiked onto her head. It could have happened to anybody. It just happened to be.
A woman probably would not have smacked it so hard to do the damage.
Yes.
There, even when you transition, there's still, and we're not going to get into this because that's a whole, but women, even if you transition, even on female to hormones, you're still stronger, you're still bigger, you're still faster. It's been proven. And just because you change your identity even if you transition, it doesn't matter. You are stronger, you are going to hurt someone, or you are stealing from women.
And then Trump did the ban. It goes all the way to the NCAA sport college.
And I also gotta add this: the only few cases where it actually changed the thing were when they started hormones therapy and when they didn't really hit puberty as boys and they started very early their transition. That's the only case where they will be similar on even play field as
that's
women.
because you've pretty much made the child bones brittle as fuck.
Yeah,
but that's just child endangerment, and that's just something else.
Yeah.
they did not clap. They could not clap because to clap would be to acknowledge that boys and men should not be competing in women's sports. And of course, they don't want to concede that ground at any given moment. And they cannot bring it within themselves to simply applaud this young girl who had her athletic career snatched from her because we put somebody with a biological advantage on an opposing team who should not have been there in the first place. And it's interesting that on the left, we can truly acknowledge the power differential between men and women when we have more serious cases. When we're talking about things like rape, sexual assault, attacks, battery, anything of that nature, and a man is committing that act against a woman, we're talking about it. We're saying this is a sign of patriarchy. We're calling out men and saying how vicious and disgusting they are, and that's the narrative that we have. But as soon as you take out some of the supposed extremism of the act and you put a man on a sports team with women where he gets to exercise that strength over them at any given moment, they don't understand.
Taking out the extremism, but she seems to be okay with men in the women's bathroom. That's not extremism, or men in the women's shelter. This isn't just a sports thing. This is a whole big thing. And
we called this a slippery cliff a long time ago. We used to call this about 15 years ago or 10 or so. We made the joke with the feminists. They're like, you need to recognize trans people or trans men who transition into women as women. We're like, we said this before the whole TERF movement happened. We're like, you're going to lose your identity in the LGBTQ community to the point where the lesbian, gays, and bisexual people are all but forgotten for the others. And it's just become this slippery cliff it's not even a slippery slope. It's the slippery cliff.
But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I like all you framed it. That's
but it
exactly
still
what's
bothers me
funny.
how she took out the whole taking out the extremism. Is like, no, everything about it's extreme. Even just having them in the change room doesn't make women feel safe. But that's okay. It's just in the sports when they're beating them up. It's like, no, it's every level of it is bad.
I agree with that. And that's yeah, I agree with that. Let's play.
Understand why that would be wrong. They don't understand why that's something that we need to safeguard women from. Please make that make sense to me. But of course, on the other end of this, the story of Peyton McNabb is being shared more and more on the internet, and people are posting the video of Peyton McNabb actually getting spiked in the head by that ball that created the brain injury for her and had her undergo paralysis essentially from being hit so hard. And leftist Emma Vigeland responds, ha 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 ha, on Twitter. So yeah, it's a real
You
real
betrayed the
dunk
cause.
from the
Now pay,
left
bigot.
on a young girl who was victimized in a situation that should have never taken place.
Do you
But again,
remember
no claps from the Democrats,
Sorry,
so add that
do
to your
you
list.
remember the swimmer who spoke about
Leah
against
Thomas.
Leah Thomas?
Yeah.
She was notable for she went to go speak at a campus about her experience, how that happened.
And
She
they
had to have
cornered
a
her with
whole
that.
bunch of like bodyguards around her, and other people were just bobbing, protesting her, trying to assault her at a college campus.
She was cornered in a bathroom. She had to lock herself in a room for her own safety because they were trying to hurt her. Because how dare you speak about the tea?
Yeah. Very famous thing, and that was about what 2-3 years ago.
That was like,
3 years ago.
yeah, it's disgusting, the whole movement.
And then they literally, and all her thing is and I will say this: if you've transitioned enough that you're passable, that you are comparable, I could see it.
Well, just to get off a slight tangent, don't get upset, Multi. There's the whole talk, and I have friends who are trans, who themselves talk about real and fake trans. Real trans don't always pass, but they know they're male, they know they're identifying, and they know that science isn't at the fact where they're actually the opposite sex. Those people are more fine when they go, especially the ones who pass and understand. They don't talk about it. You would never know.
What was it?
Like,
What was the one the famous controversy during the last Olympic Games was the ones they tried to say, but I'm intersex. That's why I could be this way.
oh, it was the fight. It was also in the fighters again. Men were wanting to beat up women.
It was the one, and I think it was in the Olympics, right? Because apparently they failed a qualifying round prior, but they could qualify
and that
for the Olympics.
But they have the genome, or they have.
But
I can't remember exactly
they
how.
claimed to be intersex, but it just turned out they were trying to transition and didn't do it enough that they still had enough, even by international boxing standards, to still be counted as men. And I think that's the one that like got the shit beat out of her.
Oh yeah, no, it was a horrendous thing. It was, and you could look at them, and it looked Imam Khalif or something, or
yes, the Turkish one.
Yeah, it was so disgusting, and people were defending. It's like, you're okay with a woman getting beaten, almost like she said she's never felt that hard being hit before, and that was okay for them. And it's just where they draw the lines. It's like
Weird places. So we are very soon about to end this. We will hear a bit more of this to have a memorable pause. So let's just play a few more things.
Another one who can't get claps from the Democrats. And it's interesting, before we get into this next story, Donald Trump set them up for this moment and for people talking about this speech and this address in this way. At the beginning of his speech, he said, we're going to talk about, what this administration is accomplishing, how powerful we are, how strong we are, and the Democrats are not going to applaud. They're not going to cheer for anything. Even the most common sense initiatives, they're not going to be able to bring it within themselves to cheer because they don't like me and they don't like what's happening right now. And as a Democrat, you can listen to that and go, you know what? He's right. Maybe I should cheer. And maybe I should, clap for things that make sense to clap. Or you can go, yeah, absolutely not. I hate Donald Trump. Orange man bad. I'm going to sit here in my active protest with my cabal of people who are going to do the very same. And in our leadership, this is how we're going to choose to protest the evil orange man. He was warning y'all. And quite frankly, I think if I was on Trump's team, they probably had a lot of these stories set in place knowing damn well how Democrats were going to react, and they're welcoming this because it really is emphasizing the lack of compassion, the lack of tolerance, the lack of ability to step outside of the echo chamber that so many Democrats experience in day-to-day life. And
she is way overthinking this. I think when he wrote this, there wasn't plans on, we're going to make them look bad by saying things that they're not going to respond to. I think that's overthought. When he's thinking about them, he points them out. He actually points out people when he's talking about certain things. I think she is definitely coming from a lefty view because she's thinking that, he's making them look bad. No, they make themselves look bad. All he did was say things that were true and spiteful. He didn't think about them. He doesn't care about them. This whole term has started off. If it weren't for the left attacking him so much, and I said this back in his first term, if the left didn't attack him and lie about him so much, he probably might not have been voted in or loved as much. People wouldn't defend him, but because they lied so hard about him, people were defending him. Because even after he was out of office, they attacked him. They raided his house. They raided his wife and kids' drawers. They tried to ruin him. They tried to destroy everything about him. He came in full vengeful. They are
and part of the whole about to go, but give you an American perspective. This idea, like even a person as me knows the PR side, during the speech, she's partly correct and partly wrong. He's good. It was a good, tactful speech for what he has done by policy. I may disagree with how he governs, but he literally said at one part of the room, one half of this room will probably like majority of what I'm doing, whilst the other half of the room will disagree, and that is okay. And he's not pointing to them to get them agitated. He knows there is enough that, remember, as I said, they're like a beehive without a queen. Their main leadership partly agree on one thing. Anything Trump says is bad. If you agree or break with Trump or Republicans, you are in trouble or you don't represent the whole. Because what happened with the Democrats is, so when the Tea Party came in 2010, they started purging out the Democrat moderates. Then the Democrats have slowly all but purged all but the ideologues. So all that is left is the ideologues and very few moderates who masquerade as ideologues. And they don't have the courage to speak up against their leadership.
And I gotta say that thing. I feel like the world wants you to hate big orange man, and they do a very good job at just painting him at the worst colors. And if you support him, you're a bad guy as well. You're as bad as him, and this is how people depict others. It's so divided, and people did cut ties with me just because I said, look, he's not doing just bad things. And again, I will repeat myself. I don't think he only did good things. I think he did change, and this is what people were asking for. And yet, I get aided. I get flamed for that, and I get flamed for that desire to see some change somewhere in the world. Uh, this how it is. People just like the brainwash. I don't know. Any thoughts on
It's a,
that, guys?
it's a cult. The left.
He basically have. What's funny is during the speech, and I'm surprised she didn't touch on it. She doesn't touch on it. It's a very key moment. Robert Kennedy Jr. is the health secretary under Trump. Okay? He's a former Democrat. They have completely exiled him. He also spoke against Obama. He spoke against Biden. Vince Biden.
Even
And
Elon,
they have forgotten all about him.
they
And-
kicked him out of the running. He had to go independent before he dropped out to support Trump. He ran against Biden, but they wouldn't allow anyone who tried to run against Biden, they kicked out of the party. He had to run as an independent. Even Elon Musk was originally a leftard.
Wow, that's funny. And again, I will kind of close off that because the next time we pick up at that timestamp here where we pause. But I will repeat myself. People will hate you if you're by Trump's side, and it's kind of sad that you cannot go against the narrative. Um, this is where we are at, and I think COVID was part the issue that all started that big divide in people.
No,
It wasn't that bad before
no,
COVID.
it was. The big divide was Trump was coming and he wasn't someone who could be bought off. He was someone who is too rich to be bought off, and he wasn't playing their games. He wasn't running a president as a president. He was running America as a business, and they didn't like that. And they really don't like it this time because he's calling out all their shit and he's defunding their scams. And they are fucking scared. They are clinging to life. Like, they aren't even making sense anymore. They are so panicked.
The biggest problem you'll find with the current Democrats is, as I said, they purged a lot of their moderates. They are the ones that are left. Like, even when, like, Al Green, right? Al Green, when he stood up, he thought he was going to be recognized as a squad, the Palestinian one, Elon Omar, Ocasio-Cortez, right? The Palestinian woman got censured in 23 because she exposed the Democrats around the October 7th attack, and she got quietly shuffled off into a closet. Elon Omar in 24 got censored for saying something really bad against Israel and some other stuff. Ocasio-Cortez literally said the party has gone so far progressive and even more or less common sense than she could support, but bear in mind, she's not much saner.
No,
And
she's bought off.
And you know what's funny? Even if you look at Democrats, Tulsi Gabbard, right? She even came out and said the Democrats were far gone during the election.
And that's what's funny about her. She's not just a lefty. She was a commie.
She's a former military person too.
No, but she was a Bernie bro. And Bernie bros are all commie socialist bastards. And she's even come out against them because she stuck her neck out for Bernie, and Bernie turned against her.
Yeah. And she had one of the big videos that was like, yeah, Democrats aren't going to fully admit that they have entirely, we're talking going back half through Biden's administration. Everyone basically warned Kamala and warned them. They had gone so far progressive. And it shows that at least a moment in time, social and progressive policies, the movement did not have as much. You started seeing the shrinkage in media first. Then you started seeing it shrink publicly in the politics. All the polling was going towards Trump. That's why you started seeing Hollywood even drift back towards conservative or shelve a lot of DEI projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they didn't do it fully until Trump got elected. The Democrats in Washington are the last ones to see it. Kamala Harris lost votes in all the places Biden won.
This is deep. This is
Not
telling.
one state was flipped in her benefit.
And they say it's a success.
And literally, yes, Trump took the battleground states. I told everyone it was going to come down to the battleground states. She got less votes than Biden. And it wasn't just because, let's say, you had another Democrat. The tonal shift, Democrats have not realized. They let crime run rampant. They let all of this stuff run that way. Hell, even Gavin Newsom has had to come back towards the center. Good luck to him.
Not by much.
So that was a very interesting discussion we had. We have part 2 probably Wednesday or Thursday when guys are available, and we will have the final part most likely the next week after. We will see how it goes, but since you got the mic, D-Lord, what do you have going on your end of the internet?
Well, hopefully if the person, I do have a discussion since it is 3 a.m. my time. I do have at 12 o'clock today in about 8 hours. I do have a thing on DEI and its history in the U.S. if that goes off today, but that's probably about it. It's with direct disorder. So
yeah, I was going to say push that back to 1 maybe just with the time change so we can get some sleep.
I know the problem is, yes, it would be the person. So I do have a couple of other little side stuff I work on. I might have a discussion with Organized Chaos on Thursday if you let that pull out.
What?
Yes, that organized.
It will be unfaithful. I'm telling you already.
I know. And this is
all. Try to get it on Gotcha Moment all the time. He won't even try to understand you.
So he is trying to say Al Green is the hero the Democrats observe.
Oh, I want to be on that.
No. It's going to be on his channel, and I know he's going to gaslight me within the first 5 minutes. And to be honest, he scheduled it about from last Thursday to this Thursday. So I'll see if he is serious about it.
I don't think so, man.
If he is, I'm going to be curious because he tried to say I had double standards. Because remember, I pointed out Robert's rules, right? Robert's rules are basically parliamentary rules. Even what's funny, even about that Robert's rules stuff, here's the funny thing. Another Democrat, he's like a moderate Democrat, said he hated what Al Green did. He would have hated if a Republican did it because there's formalities. But then again, I'll see if this goes through Thursday. I'm expecting walking into a lion's den, But if I do have other questions for him, I'm going to have to pick his brain why his content has gotten so. It's going to be funny. I don't know how much I'm going to get off, but I will probably want to blow my brains out by the end. But interesting. Brush with famous people on the internet, so to speak.
That sounds fun. What about you, Mandalore? What do you have going on your end of the
My
internet?
normal just pissing people off, but I'm probably going to be, as long as I'm awake, depending on how much sleep I get tonight, I'll be joining D-Lord tomorrow, because the topic is going to be interesting and whatnot. I'm mostly just hanging around waiting for things to happen.
Thank you for being there, Mandalore. I know you're tired. I am also tired.
It's
Guys
2:09.
know it.
My wife wants me to go to bed. She doesn't like the time change because it fucks with her because she's more sensitive. I don't work, so I can sleep.
It's going to take a week. You know what? Daylight savings time. I think I've heard it. It takes sometimes 3 to 4 days to a week. It will literally screw up your sleep.
No, you know what sucks is when I used to work overnights. So I always hated the going back an hour. Those were my least favorite because I had to work an extra hour. I got paid for the extra hour, but I worked. It was a longer night those nights.
Yeah.
The
That's
time forward were actually good because you got paid the same amount of time and you got a free hour.
Yeah. So on my end of the internet, Monday I will talk about Mickey 17, a great movie I enjoyed. Tuesday we talk about Galaxy Quest, I think, or Kingpin. I can't remember which one of the two. Wednesday, I don't know what I will be doing. Thursday, I don't know what I will be doing. But one of those 2 days, most likely Thursday or Wednesday, I don't know. We will be doing part 2 of that Trump video because it's entertaining and I like to talk about politics sometimes because I know people enjoy that. Outside of that, maybe gaming stream at some point one day. Probably not next week, but one day. Don't you worry about that. And with this, we are out.